ගරුතර සංඝරත්නයන් සහ අනිකුත් පූජක ප්‍රධානීන්ගෙන් අවසරයි. උල්මේසේ පරිහත්කාර මහත්මතුනි, වීරමන්ත්‍රී විනිශ්චයකාරතුමනි, නීතිපති සහ අනිත් සම්භාවනීය මහත්වරුනි, සභාවෙන් අවසරයි. සී.ජී. වීරමන්ත්‍රී විනිශ්චයකාරතුමාගේ ඉස්ලාම් නීතිය සහ ජාත්‍යන්තර නීතිය සම්බන්ධතාවය ගැන පොත දොරට වැඩීමේ අවස්ථාවෙහිදී වචන ස්වල්පයක් කතා කිරීමට මට ලැබුණ ආරාධනාව වරප්‍රසාදයක් ලෙස මම සලකනවා. ජාතික සහ ජාත්‍යන්තර මට්ටමේ සහ අප ආසියාවෙන් කලාපයේ නීතිවේදියෙකු ලෙස කීර්ති නාමයක් ලබාගත් වීරමන්ත්‍රී විනිසුරු ඔහුගේ නඩු තීන්දුව වලින් සහ විශාරද ලේඛන වලින් වැදගත් අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කර තිබෙනවා. සමාජයක යුක්තිය පසඳලීමේදී සහ ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමේදී වෙනස් නෛතික සම්ප්‍රදාය වලින් හැඩගැසුණු සංකල්පන ඉතා වැදගත් බව ඔහු පැහැදිලි කර තිබෙනවා. වෙනස් නෛතික පද්ධතියන් හා ආගමික සම්ප්‍රදායන් ඇසුරෙන් නීතිය දියුණු වී තිබෙන අතර යම් සාරධර්මයන් පොදුවේ බලපාන බවද ඔහු පැහැදිලි කර තිබෙනවා. ඉස්ලාම් නීතිය සහ ආගම පිළිබඳව වැරදි අදහස් පැතිරෙන අද දින මෙවැනි පොතක ඉමහත් වැදගත්කම අපි පිළිගත යුතුයි. සාමයට, සංවර්ධනයට සහ ජාත්‍යන්තර නීතියට ඉස්ලාම් නීතියට දායකත්වය දීමට පුළුවන් බව පහදා දීමෙන් අප රටේ පවතින වෙනස් ආගම් සහ නෛතික පදනම් ගරු කිරීම සහ අගය කිරීම ප්‍රායෝගික වශයෙන් අවශ්‍ය බව ඔහු පෙන්වා දී තිබේ. සිංහල පරිවර්තනය අද දින ලබා ගැනීමට පුළුවන් වන අතර දැනට මුද්‍රණය කළ තිබෙන ඉංග්‍රීසි පොතේ යම් මූලික අදහස් ගැන ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් මම කතා කිරීමට අදහස් කරනවා. Venerable Sirs, Justice Veeramanthri, Mr. Palihakkara, Honorable Attorney General, distinguished members of the head table, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be invited to speak at this evening's launch of Judge C.G. Veeramanthri's book, Islamic Jurisprudence and International Perspective, in its new Sinhala translation. As has been said earlier, Judge Veeramanthri needs no introduction to an audience of professionals or the public. He is one of those rare individuals who is recognized internationally, regionally, and nationally as an eminent legal scholar and judge, entitled to be described by the epithet jurist. We recognize him as a jurist because his scholarship as an academic and Justice of the Supreme Court of our country and Vice President of the International Court of Justice at The Hague has contributed to path-breaking jurisprudence and the philosophy of legal thought, expanding our understanding of the role of law in achieving that elusive goal of justice in all its many dimensions. Erudite jurists sometimes express their ideas through spoken and written words that are unintelligible and no one understands. Judge Veeramanthri has that rare gift of communicating profound and scholarly legal philosophy and concepts derived from a rich diversity of sources with great intellectual sensitivity and great clarity. He communicates with the same clarity of thought and expression in books written for first-year law students or students, like his Invitation to the Law, or in erudite scholarly judgments, treatises, and books. I do hope that the Sinhala translation captures its use of language, which is a rare and invaluable gift of communication, of a distinguished jurist. It is especially important because the translation of this book in Sinhala comes at a time when people in our country need perhaps more than ever before to discard the barriers of insularity and intolerance, as mentioned by several speakers, and connect with abiding universal values of humanism, peace, equality, and justice. The end of a fratricidal internal armed conflict requires us to value and understand the important contribution of our diverse cultures and traditions, including Islam, to human development and well-being. Judge Veeramanthri's legal scholarship and his jurisprudence, encapsulated in judicial decisions, reminds us that we cannot understand the role of law and respond to contemporary challenges in building conflict-free and peaceful societies based on respect for human rights and the rule of law without insightful analysis of our comparative and diverse histories and our past. He has researched legal thought and philosophy in antiquity and the great religions and philosophical traditions of the world, and demonstrated how they can be used in responding to contemporary problems of law and order and development in our societies. The book that is being launched in Sinhala translation today reflects this particular dimension of his work. Judge Veeramanthri's work in this book demonstrates a point that we often forget, which is that no culture or religious tradition is ever static. It is indeed a product of thought and ideas derived from diverse influences and human experiences through different periods of history. If we take the Islamic law in Sri Lanka itself, the Mohammedan Code of 1806 was brought, which is the core law, or was the core law of Muslim personal law, was brought to this country from Batavia in Indonesia. And it is now recognized that in East Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc., the Muslim legal tradition was developed in a multicultural environment with links to other traditions. And those different influences impacted on the Muslim law in those countries. I would like to comment on a few features of this book which have special relevance at this time, helping all of us to eliminate common and negative perceptions regarding Islam. This book highlights a historical reality which is often forgotten, and that is Islam's contribution to knowledge and learning, science, philosophic thought and ideas, and trade in the Western world, in particular from the 11th century. Today, we know from his work that scholars in Spain and Italy, in fact, had a knowledge of Arabic, and they were exposed to the thought and ideas of Islam. Islamic societies were a first in many areas of knowledge, science, and learning. The book has therefore several chapters devoted to the confluence of ideas derived from Islam and Western and European legal thought and philosophy. In a chapter on the value of Islamic jurisprudence to non-Islamic societies, the author draws our attention to core principles of family law and caring in personal relationships in Islamic jurisprudence. He also draws our attention to legal values on integrity and social responsibility in the world of commerce, very important in the context of the private sector expansion and the concept of CSR, or the social responsibility of the market. Again, he refers to the concept of trusteeship and fair contract and freedom from usury. I think another interesting facet of this book is that it gives us insight on this controversial concept of jihad or holy war. What Judge Veeramantri demonstrates so clearly is that jihad is a misunderstood concept, because in the Islamic tradition, it referred to what many and all religions do, the idea of spreading the values of religion through persuasion and through discussion and discourse. Therefore, the concept of jihad as a principle of a holy war based on intolerance is contraindicated in the jurisprudence and the thought of Islamic law. And he demonstrates that this concept of a normative framework for even that idea of persuasion and spread of religion meant that intolerance was rejected. And it comes to my mind, a thought expressed by Mr. Olara Otunu, who was a special representative on children in armed conflict, who once said that African war that wars in Africa no longer have the normative limitations that were there in traditional African societies, like that food crops would never be destroyed, that arms would be let down at sundown. And he said the lack of that normative framework has contributed to the aberrations of conflict in Africa. And Judge Veeramantri, therefore, I think makes this very important point of the misunderstanding of the concept of jihad and the fact that Islam, like any other religion, believes in the spread of religion in peace and persuasion. And that, of course, links to our own Buddhist tradition, Venerable Sirs, where we say in Buddhism, ehipassiko. And the Buddha said, ehipassiko, come, see, understand, and accept the doctrine. He also refers to a fascinating range of oral traditions, poetry, and epics, very relevant for our country, which indicate that even in times like the Crusades of war, ordinary people responded with generosity and kindness in situations of war. And he refers in particular to a story of St. Francis of Assisi, who was able to go to Egypt and preach Christianity in an Islamic society. Again, Judge Veeramantri draws our attention to a core concept of Islam, the concept of democratic participation and consensus. In Islam, we have the concept of ummah, or the community. And he refers to texts which illustrate that it says that mutual conversation is important, mutual consultation is important. And that the Prophet said in one of the hadiths, do not make decisions on the opinions of any single person. I think that's a valuable insight, this concept of consensus and consultation of the community or the ummah, a valuable insight in how good governance must be based on people's participation. Similarly, the concept of ijma, of interpretation as a source of law. He points out that there is a wrong perception that Islamic jurisprudence is frozen in time. But in fact, it recognizes the concept of interpretation, and there is no rigid adherence to precedent, and great flexibility on the basis of discussion, interpretation by scholars. And this again links to our own Buddhist tradition, because if we think of the Milinda Prasna and the discourse and the discussion between Bhikkhu Nagasena and the King Milinda, basic to it is that scholars discuss, share thoughts, arrive at a consensus, and if they disagree, they part not in hostility but in friendship. These are messages of participation, of consensus and consultation, which are deeply relevant as we face the challenges of our society today after a period of long conflict. Judge Veeramanthri's book also points to certain concepts in international law. The core concept, which is expressed in Latin, pacta sunt servanda, that is, agreements are binding. This is very relevant for us in Sri Lanka, as we see discussion today that treaties have been imposed by the international community and are not part of binding international law that sets the norms of good governance. Here, he points out that that concept of a binding agreement is a core value in Islam. Similarly, the emphasis, as has been pointed out, on human dignity and, most importantly, accountability in the exercise of power. He refers to a wonderful text in the Quran which says, when you rule people, you should rule with justice. Again, he points to the fact that in Islamic jurisprudence, there was a sense of accountability and a sense of the rights of non-Islamic citizens in Islamic states. And there he refers to the concept of dhimmi, or non-citizens, and their right to protection from the state. He also refers, again, to an interesting difference in the approach to human rights in Islamic jurisprudence, recognizing that they are relevant. The difference focuses on the individual as connected to the community. Eurocentric Western jurisprudence is often criticized for being too focused on the rights of civil liberties of the individual and ignoring the rights of the community, for instance, in relation to socio-economic rights. Now today, in human rights, we have the concept of indivisibility of human rights, and today we recognize internationally that civil liberties of the individual are as important as the communitarian socio-economic rights of the people and the community. So that concept of Islam, emphasizing duty and community, links to contemporary and modern interpretations on the indivisibility of human rights and the critical importance of both the individual civil liberties and the rights of the community to basic social needs. This book also addresses a controversial area where there's much misunderstanding, and that I refer to is the situation of women in Islam. That has attracted a great deal of criticism, a great deal of controversy, and Justice Veeramanthri has picked on many dimensions of Islamic law, which indeed are far ahead of some concepts of Western jurisprudence. For example, the separate rights of women to property, the concept that a mother has preferential rights to custody of her children, or the concept of hidana, very different to our own country, which even today recognizes the preferential rights of the father. Again, he refers to the concept of the obligation to provide for one's family, particularly in limiting testation or the limiting of the right to make a will, because Islam says that you can only dispose of some percentage of your property, but the rest must be given to your family, which has certain rights of inheritance. The book, however, does not discuss one aspect, which again is very controversial, which is the principles of criminal justice, which I think the learned Attorney General referred to. And again, we need to look at it with objectivity and with a desire to see how we can link it to the modern concept of human rights. The book has an invaluable annexes. One, it was referred to before, the Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights. In addition, it has an interesting document on the with regard to the farewell speech of the Prophet, which has a concept which is extremely important in the area of women's rights, which is men have duties with regard to their wives, and wives have duties with regard to their husbands. It has an interesting document on the directions of a caliph to a judge. These are invaluable annexes, sir, to your book, which I know will be especially important to law students, to law teachers, to the profession and members of the public who dip into the annexes of the book. This book is dedicated by Judge Veeramantri to the cause of international peace through cross-cultural understanding. We sang together our national anthem, which has that paragraph which says, "Eka mawekuge daru kala babina, yanu vi nopama, prema vada saha beda durarada." That concept is at the heart of this book, and I can only hope that we in Sri Lanka will have accessed the book, respond to its message, and find in it thoughts, reflections, and ideas relevant for our own country on peaceful conflict resolution through cross-cultural understanding of our richly diverse and different communities and traditions. Thank you.